At my daughter's wedding planning, her fiancé said, "We only want important people at our wedding, Vic, not your immigrant friends." I smiled and started making calls. You know what's funny about entitled rich kids? They never see the trap until it's too late. Austin Palmer, investment banker, old Westchester money, Yale graduate, standing in my modest living room Thursday night, dismissing 3 decades of sweat and sacrifice with 11 words that would destroy his life. I didn't raise my voice, didn't defend myself, just nodded slowly. That calm smile my construction crews know means someone's about to learn a very expensive lesson. See, Austin thought he was talking to some lucky contractor who'd gotten above his station. He had no idea the unimportant immigrant he was dismissing owned the relationships that would make or break his perfect $100,000 wedding. 24 hours later, his wedding would vanish. His reputation would crumble, and 150 guests would witness exactly who the important people really were. The disrespect hadn't started Thursday night. It had been building for months, one calculated cut at a time. It began in March when Austin first saw my guest list. 27 names from my construction crew, the guys who'd helped me build Sterling Construction from nothing. Tony Ricci, who taught me American building codes when I spoke broken English. Mike Sullivan, who vouched for me when banks wouldn't look at an immigrant twice. These weren't just employees, they were brothers. "Dad, maybe we should reconsider some of these invitations," Elena said gently, Austin's arm around her shoulders. "The Palmer family has certain expectations." Austin nodded approvingly. "It's nothing personal, Vic, but a wedding reflects the families involved. We need to think about optics." Optics, that word would haunt me for weeks. By April, my list had been refined. The construction guys were out. My poker buddies from the old neighborhood, gone. Even Mrs. Gonzalez, who'd watched Elena grow up while I worked 18-hour days, was deemed too informal for a Palmer wedding. "We're keeping it intimate," Austin explained, reviewing seating charts at my kitchen table. "Just family and people who matter in our circles." I watched my daughter's face during these conversations. Elena, my pride and joy, the first Sterling to graduate college. She'd squirm uncomfortably, but never spoke up. "Love makes you blind," I told myself. "She'll see eventually." But it got worse. In May, Austin suggested I might want to upgrade my wardrobe for wedding-related events. He handed me a business card for his family's tailor. "Nothing offensive, Vic, but you'll be meeting some important people. First impressions matter." Important people. There was that phrase again. The real slap came during the venue walkthrough at Westchester Country Club in June. I'd paid the $500 deposit myself, money I'd earned laying brick in 100-degree heat while Austin was playing lacrosse at prep school. "This is Elena's father," Austin introduced me to the wedding planner. He's in construction." The way he said it, like I built sewers instead of the luxury homes his friends lived in. But here's what Austin didn't know about that country club. In 2019, Sterling Construction had renovated their entire east wing, $2 million of work. I knew every board member by name, had their personal cell numbers, had saved their asses when the original contractor walked off the job. I just smiled and shook hands. By July, the pattern was clear. Austin was systematically erasing my life from his wedding. My business associates were too commercial. My church friends might not understand the social dynamics. Even my brother Thomas, a successful cardiologist, was questioned. "Is he established in the community?" Austin asked. Thomas had been saving hearts for 20 years, but apparently that wasn't established enough for the Palmers. The final insult came 3 weeks ago. Austin arrived at my house with revised seating charts. I found myself at table 12 in the back corner, next to the kitchen doors. Elena's mother, God rest her soul, would have been mortified. Her picture sat on the mantel watching this entitled boy disrespect everything we'd built. "It's just logistics, Vic," Austin said, not meeting my eyes. "The front tables are for immediate family and key business contacts." Key business contacts? I'd built a $120 million company from nothing. Sterling Construction employed 340 people, had completed 847 projects across 3 states. We'd built shopping centers, office complexes, luxury hotels. My company's logo was on construction sites from Manhattan to Albany, but I wasn't a key business contact. That's when I started making phone calls. Quiet inquiries about Austin Palmer and Palmer Investment Group. What I discovered made my blood run cold and my resolve crystal clear. Austin wasn't just dismissing my background. He was hiding his own dirty secrets. Palmer Investment Group managed $800 million in client assets. Impressive numbers. But my private investigator, Marcus Webb, the same guy I used for employee background checks, found some interesting discrepancies. Missing client funds, unexplained transfers, gambling debts totaling $400,000 to Atlantic City casinos. Austin Palmer, the man judging my worthiness, was embezzling from elderly clients to fund his lifestyle. The Securities and Exchange Commission had opened a formal investigation 2 months ago. Federal agents were building a case. Austin's perfect wedding was happening just weeks before his perfect world would collapse. But he didn't know I knew. He thought he was marrying into money, my money, to solve his problems. The wedding was his last hurrah before the inevitable. Thursday night, when he stood in my living room and dismissed my immigrant friends, something clicked. This wasn't about social status anymore. This was about character. This was about a man who'd never earned anything questioning the worth of a man who'd earned everything. Austin thought he was dealing with just another immigrant contractor who'd gotten lucky. What he didn't realize was that luck had nothing to do with it. For 30 years, I'd built more than buildings. I'd built relationships, trust, respect, a reputation that opened doors and moved mountains. Friday morning, Austin Palmer would discover exactly how many mountains I could move and exactly how quickly his perfect wedding could disappear. Friday morning, 7:30 a.m. My phone rang while I was reviewing Sterling Construction's weekly reports. Austin's name flashed on the screen. I always record my business calls. 30 years in construction taught me that people say things then deny them later. Austin was about to give me the gift of his own words. "Vic, we need to talk." His voice carried that entitled edge I'd grown to hate. "I've been thinking about yesterday's conversation." "Have you?" "Look, I need you to understand something. This wedding isn't just about Elena and me. It's about two families coming together. The Palmer name has meant something in Westchester for 4 generations. I stayed quiet. Let him dig his own grave. My mother is hosting a pre-wedding dinner next Thursday. The guest list is selective. We're talking about people who've shaped this community. Business leaders, political figures, old families. I see. The thing is, Vic, your people, your friends from the construction site, they wouldn't be comfortable in that environment. And honestly, they might make other guests uncomfortable too." My grip tightened on the phone. "Don't take it personally. It's just reality. Look at the Hendersons. Their daughter married that tech entrepreneur last year. Beautiful wedding, but they kept the guest list complimentary. His Silicon Valley crowd, her Greenwich Society friends, everyone stayed in their lane. Their lane. This boy was actually telling me to stay in my lane. Austin, let me ask you something. What exactly do you think I do for a living?" A pause. "You're in construction. You do well for yourself, obviously. Elena mentioned you own your own company, Sterling Construction, right? And that's great, Vic. Really. My grandfather always said America needs skilled tradesmen. You've built a nice business, but this wedding, the people attending, we're talking about a different level of society. A different level of society. The man was literally explaining social hierarchy to me, like I was a child. Tell me about this different level, son. Well, there's my father's law partners, federal judges, the Whitman family. They own the largest bank in the county. Senator Blake will be there. These are people who move markets, who influence policy. They speak a certain language. What language is that? The language of real power, Vic. Old money, established influence. Look, I'm not trying to be offensive, but there's a difference between new money and, well, money that's been refined over generations. Refined money, like wine in a cellar, getting better with age. So my money isn't refined enough. It's not about the money itself. It's about understanding how to use it, how to present yourself, how to navigate certain social waters. His voice softened like he was explaining something to a confused immigrant. My family has been part of the Westchester establishment for over a century. We know these people. We understand their expectations. And I don't. Honestly, no, and that's okay. You've achieved the American dream. You came here with nothing and built something. That's admirable. But Elena is marrying into a different world now, a world with different rules. The American dream. He said it like I'd won a participation trophy. What exactly are you asking me to do, Austin? I'm asking you to think about what's best for Elena. Maybe you could host a separate celebration for your people, something more casual, a barbecue maybe, after the official wedding. That way, everyone's included, but in appropriate settings. A barbecue for the unimportant people. And you think this is what Elena wants? Elena wants to fit in with her new family. She wants to be accepted, and she will be, as long as we're thoughtful about how we handle these transitions. Handle these transitions. I was a transition to be managed. Vic, I'm going to be very direct with you. This wedding is about Elena's future, our future. The Palmer family has connections that could benefit her career, her social standing, her entire life trajectory. But that requires us to be strategic about associations. Strategic about associations. I was an association to be managed. You know what, Austin? You're absolutely right. I am? Completely. This wedding should absolutely reflect the kind of people you and Elena associate with. Exactly. I knew you'd understand. Oh, I understand perfectly. In fact, I think I understand better than you do. Something in my tone must have changed because Austin went quiet. Is everything okay, Vic? Everything's perfect, son. You've made everything crystal clear. After I hung up, I sat in my office for 5 minutes listening to the recording playback. Every word, every insult, every casual dismissal of my life, my friends, my worth. Austin had just given me 23 minutes of ammunition. More importantly, he'd given me moral permission for what came next. By noon, Austin Palmer would learn the difference between inherited privilege and earned power, the hard way. I made my first call at 9:15 a.m., Marcus Webb, my private investigator. Marcus, I need everything you can get me on Austin Palmer and Palmer Investment Group. Financial records, client complaints, SEC filings, everything. How fast do you need it? By 3 p.m. Jesus, Vic, that's pushing it. Push harder. There's a $10,000 bonus if you deliver. Second call, Westchester Country Club. Hello, Mrs. Foster. This is Vic Sterling from Sterling Construction. I need to discuss the Palmer Sterling wedding booking. Yes, Mr. Sterling. Is everything all right? There's been a family emergency. The wedding needs to be postponed indefinitely. The conversation lasted 12 minutes. Mrs. Foster was apologetic, but understanding. The $500 deposit would be fully refunded due to the circumstances. What she didn't mention was that Sterling Construction had saved her job 3 years ago when the East Wing renovation went sideways. The original contractor had used substandard materials. We'd found the problems, reported them to the board, and fixed everything at cost. Loyalty works both ways. Third call, Four Seasons Westchester. Mr. Delacroix, Vic Sterling, we did your kitchen renovation in 2019. Mr. Sterling, the one that came in under budget and ahead of schedule. What can I do for you? I need a favor. The Palmer wedding this weekend, they have the presidential suite reserved. There's going to be a plumbing emergency that requires extensive work by Sterling Construction. Delacroix paused. I'd saved his marriage with that kitchen renovation. His wife had been threatening divorce over the contractor delays. We'd finished the job in 3 weeks, made her dream kitchen a reality. What kind of plumbing emergency, Mr. Sterling? The kind that requires immediate attention and makes the presidential suite uninhabitable for the weekend. I understand completely. Very unfortunate timing. Fourth call, Glen Island Harbor Club. This one was personal. I'd built their entire marina in 2018, saved them $400,000 when the original contractor tried to cut corners with substandard materials. The owner, Bill Patterson, owed me more than money. He owed me his reputation. Bill, it's Vic. I need the Palmer wedding booking canceled. Vic, what's going on? That's our biggest event this quarter. Bill, trust me on this one. A pause. How big a favor are we talking? The kind where you'll thank me Monday morning? Jesus, Vic. All right, consider it done. By 2 p.m., Austin Palmer's perfect wedding venues were disappearing one by one. But I wasn't done. At 2:47 p.m., Marcus called back. Vic, you're not going to believe what I found. Austin Palmer is in deep shit. The SEC has been investigating Palmer Investment Group for 8 months. Client fund misappropriation. We're talking $2.3 million in suspicious transfers. Keep going. It gets worse. The guy has gambling debts, big ones, $400,000 to 3 different casinos. There's chatter he's been using client money to cover losses. When does this go public? FBI raid is scheduled for Monday morning, arrest by Tuesday. Austin Palmer had 1 weekend left as a free man, 1 weekend to learn what happened when you disrespected the wrong immigrant. Friday, 3:15 p.m. Austin's panic started with a phone call from his wedding planner. I know because Elena called me 20 minutes later, her voice shaking. Dad, something weird is happening. Austin just got a call from the wedding planner. The country club canceled our booking. They said there was a family emergency, but that doesn't make sense. We had contracts. That is strange, honey. And the Four Seasons just called too. They said there's a plumbing issue in the presidential suite. Major repairs needed. They're refunding our deposit. I made sympathetic noises while reviewing my construction company's client list. 30 years of building relationships was about to pay dividends. Dad, Austin is freaking out. He's calling everyone he knows, trying to find another venue, but everything good is booked months in advance. I'm sure he'll figure something out. What Austin didn't know, what nobody knew except me, was exactly how deep Sterling Construction's roots ran in Westchester County. We hadn't just built buildings. We'd built the infrastructure of an entire community's social life. At 3:45 p.m., my phone rang. Glen Island Harbor Club. Mr. Sterling, this is Jennifer from Glen Island. I wanted to personally apologize about the Palmer wedding cancellation. Mr. Patterson explained there were family circumstances. I appreciate you calling, Jennifer. We're refunding the full $15,000 deposit, of course. And Mr. Patterson wanted me to tell you that if you need anything else, anything at all, just call. Bill Patterson understood loyalty. When his marina project had hit permitting problems in 2018, I'd personally walked the plans through City Hall, called in favors, smoothed the way. The Harbor Club had opened on schedule because of relationships I'd spent decades building. At 4:20 p.m., Elena called again. Now she sounded scared. Dad, 3 more venues just canceled. The Rye Golf Club, Sleepy Hollow Country Club, even the Maritime Aquarium in Norwalk. They all have different excuses, but Austin says this can't be a coincidence. It wasn't a coincidence. It was a masterclass in leverage. Rye Golf Club? Sterling Construction had built their new clubhouse in 2020. The project manager still sent me Christmas cards. Sleepy Hollow? We'd renovated their entire pro shop after the 2019 flood. Saved them $200,000 by working around their tournament schedule. Maritime Aquarium? My company had installed their new HVAC system. The curator's daughter worked in my accounting department. Austin thinks someone is sabotaging us, Dad. He's talking about hiring a private investigator. That seems extreme, honey. Is it? Dad, Austin asked me something today. He asked if you knew people at these venues, if you had connections. I stayed quiet. Dad, what did you tell him? I said you were just a construction contractor, that you wouldn't have that kind of influence. Just a construction contractor. Even my own daughter had bought into Austin's narrative. Elena, let me ask you something. In 30 years, how many buildings do you think Sterling Construction has worked on? I don't know. Dozens? 847 completed projects. Shopping centers, office buildings, restaurants, hotels, country clubs, private homes. We've employed over 600 people over the years. Subcontractors, suppliers, vendors. We've done business with every major construction supply company from here to Albany. Silence. When you build someone's dream, Elena, they remember. When you save their project, solve their problems, deliver on time and under budget, they remember. When you employ their sons, hire their cousins, sponsor their little league teams, they remember. Dad, what are you saying? I'm saying that maybe Austin doesn't understand what 30 years of honest work actually builds. At 5:30 p.m., Austin called me directly. His voice was tight, controlled, but I could hear the panic underneath. Vic, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be straight with me. Of course. Do you have business relationships with any of the venues we've been looking at? I've done work for various clients over the years. Why? Because 7 venues canceled our wedding today. 7. That doesn't happen by accident. That does seem unusual. Vic, I need to know, are you interfering with my wedding? The question hung in the air. Austin Palmer, the man who'd spent months explaining to me how unimportant I was, now suspected I had the power to dismantle his perfect day. Austin, let me ask you something. Yesterday, you told me I didn't understand important people. Today you're asking if I have enough influence to affect your wedding. Which is it? Silence. I mean, according to you, I'm just an immigrant contractor who got lucky. How could someone like me possibly have connections to 7 different high-end venues? Vic, unless, of course, you were wrong about what I built here. Unless 30 years of hard work actually earned me something more than luck. I could practically hear him sweating. Look, if there's been some kind of misunderstanding. No misunderstanding, Austin. You've been very clear about your opinion of me, and I've been very clear about understanding exactly where I stand. What do you want? There it was. The question that proved Austin Palmer finally understood who held the power. I want you to have exactly the wedding you deserve, son. Exactly the wedding that reflects who you really are. Meaning what? Meaning a man who builds his life on other people's money while hiding his own crimes probably shouldn't be throwing elaborate parties. Dead silence. That's right, Austin. I know about Palmer Investment Group. I know about the SEC investigation. I know about your gambling debts. I know exactly who you really are. You can't prove anything. Monday morning, the FBI will prove plenty, but don't worry about Monday. Worry about tomorrow, because tomorrow, 150 guests are going to discover that the man judging everyone else's worth isn't worth shit himself. I hung up. Austin Palmer had asked for important people at his wedding. Tomorrow he'd get them. FBI agents counted as important people, didn't they? Saturday morning, 11 a.m. Austin Palmer played his last desperate card. I was having coffee when Elena called, her voice brittle with anxiety. Dad, have you seen Austin's Instagram? I opened my laptop. Austin had posted a video 30 minutes earlier. Professional lighting, composed expression, sitting in what looked like his family's study. Old money staging at its finest. My friends, I need to address some disturbing developments regarding my wedding today. It's come to my attention that certain individuals have used unethical business practices to interfere with private family celebrations. The comments were already flooding in. Palmer family friends expressing outrage, society connections offering support, old Westchester money circling the wagons. Without naming names, I want everyone to know that intimidation and business coercion will not be tolerated. The Palmer family has served this community for 4 generations. We will not be bullied by those who mistake wealth for class. Wealth for class. Austin was doubling down on social hierarchy, even while facing federal charges. Elena was crying. Dad, people are sharing it. Austin's friends, his family's connections, they're saying terrible things about new money, about immigrants who don't understand American values. American values, from a man who'd stolen $2.3 million from elderly clients. At 11:45 a.m., I made my own social media post. Not a video, just text, simple and direct. To the Westchester community, tomorrow, federal agents will arrest Austin Palmer for embezzling $2.3 million from elderly clients. Before you judge immigrant values versus American values, ask yourself which values include stealing from grandparents to fund gambling addictions. I attached one document, a bank record showing Austin's $180,000 transfer from Margaret Hoffman's retirement account to his personal Vegas gambling expenses. The response was immediate. Margaret Palmer called Austin's post fake news and demanded I retract my libelous accusations. Senator Blake quietly unliked Austin's video. 3 board members from various venues called to confirm our business relationships remained solid. But the real shift came at noon, when Robert Nakamura, the elderly client whose grandson's college fund Austin had stolen, shared my post with his own story. This man destroyed my family's future for poker chips, 73 years in America, built a small restaurant empire, saved every dollar for education. Austin Palmer stole my grandson's Harvard dreams for blackjack tables. Then Susan Hoffman posted, "My husband died believing his retirement was secure. Austin Palmer spent our life savings at casinos while I ate cat food to pay medical bills. 12 more victims came forward within 2 hours. Elderly immigrants, working-class families, middle-class retirees, all robbed by the man lecturing about American values. The comment sections flipped. Austin society friends went silent. The narrative changed from immigrant overreach to criminal exposed. At 2 p.m., Austin posted again. The composed mask was gone, replaced by raw desperation. These accusations are completely false. My lawyers will address these defamatory statements. My family's reputation will not be destroyed by jealous competitors who... He never finished. The video cut off mid-sentence because at 2:03 p.m., 3 black SUVs had pulled into the Palmer family driveway. FBI agents arriving 18 hours early. Someone had tipped them off that Austin might flee, that someone might have been a concerned citizen who'd provided evidence of ongoing financial crimes. That concerned citizen might have been an immigrant contractor who understood the difference between inherited privilege and earned justice. Saturday, 2:30 p.m. While FBI agents searched the Palmer estate, I was having the most important conversation of my life. Elena sat in my kitchen, the same kitchen where Austin had dismissed my immigrant friends 2 days ago. Her wedding dress hung upstairs, never to be worn. Her dreams were crumbling, but her eyes were finally clear. Dad, I need to know everything. I spread the documents across the kitchen table like a dealer laying out cards. Bank records, SEC filings, client testimonies, gambling receipts. 2 years of Austin Palmer's criminal activity documented in black and white. Margaret Hoffman, 82 years old. Austin convinced her to move her retirement account to Palmer Investment for better returns. Then he transferred $180,000 to cover losses at Borgata Casino. Elena studied Mrs. Hoffman's bank statements, her hands shaking. She trusted him. They all trusted him. Robert and Susan Nakamura, retirement savings gone. The Brennan family, their daughter's medical fund, disappeared. 12 families, Elena. 12 families destroyed so Austin could chase his gambling addiction. How long have you known? I suspected something Thursday night. Austin was too eager to marry into money, too desperate to access Sterling Construction's assets. So, I hired Marcus Webb to investigate. Elena looked up. Uncle Marcus? Your old army buddy who became a private investigator? One of those unimportant immigrant friends Austin didn't want at the wedding. The irony wasn't lost on her. The man Austin had dismissed as unworthy had provided the evidence that would destroy him. Marcus found the SEC investigation Friday morning, the gambling debts, the pattern of client fund theft. Austin thought he was marrying a rich man's daughter to solve his problems. Elena was quiet for a long moment, processing the betrayal. Not just Austin's betrayal of his clients, but his betrayal of her. He never loved me, did he? Honey? No, Dad. Be honest. He saw dollar signs, didn't he? Saw Sterling Construction's value and thought he'd found his solution. I nodded. Truth was better than comfort. 3 weeks ago, Austin asked me about making you a partner in Palmer Investment Group after the wedding. Said it would combine our family business interests. I thought it was romantic, but he was planning to use our money to pay back what he'd stolen. Elena stood up and walked to the window. Outside, news vans were gathering. Word was spreading about the FBI raid. The wedding guests, she said quietly. 150 people. Austin's family, his business associates, our friends, they're all going to know. Would you rather they didn't know what kind of man you almost married? No, you're right, she turned back to me. Dad, I owe you an apology. Elena, no. Let me say this. For months, I let Austin make me ashamed of our family, of you, of where we came from. I watched him dismiss your friends, your accomplishments, your worth, and I said nothing. You were in love. I was a coward. I wanted to belong so badly in his world that I forgot where I belonged. I forgot who raised me, who sacrificed for me, who built everything I have. She picked up one of the client testimonies. Mary Gonzalez, 74, whose home healthcare fund had been emptied for Austin's Atlantic City weekend. This woman lost her house, Dad, because the man I was going to marry stole her savings while I was picking out flowers and trying to impress his mother. That's not your fault. Isn't it? I knew Austin was gambling. I knew he had debts. When bills started arriving at my apartment, when he started asking me about your business, about our family's assets, I ignored the red flags because I wanted the fairy tale. The kitchen phone rang. Margaret Palmer. I let it go to voicemail. Dad, there's something else. Last month, Austin asked me to co-sign a loan application. Said it was for a business expansion. I almost did it. Almost? I came to you, remember? Asked about potentially investing in Austin's company. You suggested I wait until after the wedding to make any financial commitments. I remembered. Elena had been excited about joining their business interests. I'd stalled, told her to focus on wedding planning first. Something about Austin's eagerness had bothered me. If I'd signed that loan, Elena, you'd be legally responsible for his debts. You'd have been his exit strategy. She sat back down, the full scope of Austin's manipulation finally clear. He didn't just steal from his clients, Dad. He was planning to steal from us, too. The good news is he failed, and Monday morning, justice catches up with him. Elena looked at the evidence spread across our kitchen table. 12 families destroyed, millions stolen, lives ruined. Dad, I want to do something for these families. Mrs. Hoffman, the Nakamuras, all of them. Sterling Construction should help them somehow. That's when I knew my daughter was going to be just fine. 3 months later, Austin Palmer was sentenced to 9 years in federal prison. He'll serve at least 7. The 12 families Austin robbed, Sterling Construction established a victim assistance fund. We couldn't give them back their innocence, but we could help rebuild their security. Elena officially joined the company as Director of Community Relations. Her first project was affordable housing for elderly immigrants, people like the ones Austin had preyed on. Margaret Palmer moved to Florida. The Palmer estate went on the market. 4 generations of Westchester prominence ended by 1 generation's greed. Last week, Elena started dating Marcus Webb's son, a public defender who represents families Austin would have dismissed as unimportant. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. Sometimes it's just living well, building honestly, and teaching your children that respect is earned one relationship at a time. The important people understand that. The rest never did matter anyway.